A veteran youth worker is warning many Australian cities are at a tipping point when it comes to gang-related crime and violence by young people. Les Twentyman, who's well known for his work with disadvantaged youths in Melbourne and other cities, says gangs offer the alienated a sense of belonging and importance. And Victoria's Police Service acknowledges a growing gang problem was ignored for years, but says it's now seeking to address the issue. Hamish Fitzsimmons reports.
There's little that shocks Les Twentyman on the streets of Melbourne, but even he says he's concerned about an emerging street gang culture in the west of the city.
Well, look, I've been aware of gang problems for nearly 20 years, but it's day by day they're becoming more brazen and far more criminal in their activities.
Under Victoria's Bill of Rights, police can't officially compile statistics on whether or not gangs are formed along ethnic lines. But unofficially, police and social workers say different ethnic groups often stick together on the streets, and police believe newer migrants may lack an understanding of the role of police.
Wherever they've come from, either there's been social issues there relating to police that have caused them some concern. So coming to another country, they're going to think, well, this is exactly the same. But then over time they realise it's not the same.
In the western suburbs and CBD on the weekends, groups of young African youths are the most visible. Young Sudanese men have been targeted by police and the media for attention. 3 violent incidents in as many days in April even had the Premier asking if there were specific problems.
We do have to recognise there are some problems in some communities and they have to be addressed.
In an effort to bridge the cultural divide police are finding difficult to cross, young Sudanese Australians like Liam Moot are stepping up. He's working with young Sudanese people on the streets of Melbourne to help them and the police understand each other better.
To reduce the social isolation, the barrier, the communication with the police and the young people.
In New South Wales, police are concerned young people in street gangs are being recruited by larger organised crime groups. Police in Victoria don't believe that's the case in Melbourne yet, but they are facing some organised gang activity in the western suburbs. There, gangs engage in lower-level crime like muggings, beatings and stabbings. Their style imitates US gang culture, such as leaving each other messages on walls in coded graffiti.
We're finding a lot of similar sort of copycat stuff following the American trend of gang activity.
Superintendent Pat Boyle won a Churchill Scholarship to study gangs and the way that authorities deal with them in the US and UK. And he's using that knowledge on what's emerging in Australia.
They have hand signs, they have clothing, there's language, tattoos, and there's a combination of those things. But then there's kids that are out there that are just experimenting because they just want to look like some gangster rapper.
Police say one of the keys to identifying problems is to look at how far copycat behaviour goes, whether it becomes a pattern of criminality by a group or is more random.
The gang behaviour can be just a once-off, and then suddenly there's huge media hype because it was a group of people, and suddenly because it's a group and it was violence, suddenly it's a gang, and unfortunately that term is used too loosely.
We sought to interview youths who were displaying what Pat Boyle refers to as gang behaviour, but as this young man's friends joined him, we were told in no uncertain terms it was time to leave.
People were buying houses here, thinking this is an up-and-coming city suburb, everything was fine.
Dean Martin has lived in this area for most of his life, and while he admits to a troubled past, he's raising his family here in Braybrook and says street gangs have changed the area for the worse.
I'm 33, we've all made mistakes in life, but you know, when women or my wife or 10-year-old daughter want to come to the milk bar but they're scared, where do you draw the line in the sand?
At night, many young people flock to the CBD. The Salvation Army runs a youth outreach program called 614 there. Its head, Brendan Nottle, says he sees many youths who feel society has little to offer.
There are young people that absolutely feel locked out from family, they're locked out from education, they're locked out from employment. And basically they say to society, well, you haven't demonstrated to me that you care, so why should I care about your standards and values?
Les Twentyman has been studying how training and education is steering people away from street gangs, and he wants more resources devoted to that rather than policing.
As they say in America, all jobs, not jails. You know, they're the sort of things that we're going to change our mentality around how do we deal with this, because this is not going to go away. This is going to get far worse.
Our street gangs are still in their infancy, But yes, we have to have a watchful eye and make sure about some of these kids that we bring quite a holistic approach to this. People like Les and others to really talk to these kids, and obviously the police have to do their bit as well.
Hamish Fitzsimmons, Lateline.